Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. In patch 9.2, Blizzard is bringing back tier sets, which is a change in the direction over the last few expansions. Normally, we would be getting more borrowed powers to expand our character's potential, but instead they're going back to what used to work, and that is tier set gear with impactful tier set bonuses. And many in the community see this as a positive change. Shadowlands started off as an expansion to bring back old skills and abilities that classes used to have. Poisons for rogues, auras for paladins, AMZ for the Death Knight, and even flavor spells like Eyes of the Beast for hunters. With Blizzard bringing back the things that used to work, I wonder if there's more that they could bring back in the future WoW expansion, like talents, passives, mechanics, and even class abilities of old. So for this video, I decided to dive back into the World of Warcraft history books, taking a look at how classes have evolved over the expansions, all the different talents, mechanics, and abilities that they used to play from way back in the day. I wanted to look for spells, abilities, and talents that are truly unique, but something that could still be incorporated into the current WoW design. But right before we get into this ability and spell list, most of you guys watching these videos are still not subscribed. However, the more of you remind, the more of you do. So let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel as well as hit the bell if you're watching these videos anyway. Especially if you enjoy videos like these, patch 9.2 updates or future WoW expansion announcements. Let's start off this video with a very iconic ability, Druid Symbiosis. With Symbiosis, a Druid could bind themselves to another player, which would cause both of you to gain an ability from the other person's class. There was an incredible amount of different combinations of abilities you could give and receive, depending on the spec of the Druid and depending on the spec of the ally that you bind with. If you are currently playing a Druid in Shadowlands and you pick the Covenant of Kyrian, the ability of Kindred Spirits is somewhat similar to Symbiosis, though very much simplified. Instead of exchanging spells, you just provide each other buffs based on your role. Your spec and your class doesn't change the ability interaction. If you're a DPS and your partner is a healer, there's a very specific buffs and boons you can provide to one another. In the expansion following Shadowlands, we will likely be losing the bonds we've established with our covenants and losing those covenant abilities. And I think Blizzard is likely to bring back some of those powerful covenant abilities as talent choices. And if they do that, I could see a world where Symbiosis returns, taking the place of Kindred Spirits. I'm not sure how strong it would be. I don't think it will be as complex as the original Symbiosis, but I hope it's not as watered down as Kindred Spirits was. Maybe something in between. For the class of Death Knights, I picked the ability Shadow of Death, a talent that didn't live too long in the expansion of Wrath of the Lich King. With the passive talent Shadow of Death, when the Death Knights die, they return back and keep fighting as a ghoul, which gives you a kind of passive cheat death. In Shadowlands, 2 of the many soul binds provide you a cheat death mechanic. With the Necrolords, your armor continues fighting for 10 seconds after you fall, able to have full control of your character with limited damage and healing, but you can still stun and crowd control. Or with the Nightface Soulbind, your character could be put into a seed pod, and if that seed pod remains unharmed for a short amount of time, your character returns to fight again. This kind of cheat death could be used to cheese bosses. Imagine if your guild has a full wipe against a boss that's left with almost no health, and there's a full set of dots on that boss where if you just wait 2 more seconds, 3 more seconds, the boss is gonna die. If you have a cheat death that lasts 10 seconds, that's plenty of time for you to watch the boss fall and for everybody to get the boss kill credit, which is something that actually happened during my guild's Castle Nathria progression. The Death Knight's Shadow of Death could easily replace that Necrolord cheat death mechanic, maybe somewhere on the defensive row of talent trees. For hunters, there's no ability like Aspect of the Fox. At first, I was gonna say Aspect of the Iron Hawk, because hunters are kind of squishy. But Aspect of the Fox is so unique and so strong that it got removed very quickly. Most hunter aspects give you a personal buff, like a defensive with Turtle, movement speed with Cheetah, or range damage for survival with Eagle. With the Aspect of the Fox, you and your raid members could move while casting for 6 seconds. This means that a coordinated dungeon group or raid group could dodge boss mechanics while executing their damage and rotation on the move, or providing support for allies with powerful heals. It also gave hunters a unique cooldown to use as part of group utility. And nothing makes you more wanted inside of a raid than bringing a utility that others really need. For mages, I picked the talent of Evanesce. It's a talent added back in Warlords of Draenor, removed shortly after, similar to Aspect of the Fox. This talent replaced your Ice Block, which instead would grant you 3 seconds of immunity on a 45-second cooldown. With some planning and a lot of timing, you could immune certain boss mechanics and dungeon mechanics as a mage a lot more often. Mages gained a lot in Shadowlands, with mirror images as well as alter time returning. They got a big upgrade to their defensive utility toolkit. During my research, I tried to find a spell that's as strong and versatile as alter time, and I felt that Evanesce would be very strong for mages currently. The class of monk has changed a lot throughout expansions, but the one utility that all 3 specs had at some point that I found useful was Zen Meditation. Right now, Zen Med is a defensive for Brewmasters. Previously, it was available to all 3 specs and it was more a group/raid utility. During Zen Meditation, 5 spells and abilities that would hit your allies would instead be redirected to the monk, while they take a massive damage reduction. An ability like this would be huge utility for all 3 specs of monks, as Mistweaver, Windwalker, and even Brewmaster. Monks are still relatively a new class compared to rogues, mages, warriors, classes that have been here since the beginning of the game's inception. I wanted to find something strong that all 3 specs shared at some point, and Zen Meditation was my best choice. But I would love to hear from monk players in the comments if there's a better ability that all 3 specs used to have that should be brought back for the class of monk. Next on the list is the class of Paladin, and for Paladins I think seals could make a return. A seal will boost the Paladin's power, giving him extra benefits on successful melee hits. Seals for damage to a boss or a group of enemies, seals to provide you self-healing, and even seals designed for AoE. I wanted something that's usable on all 3 specs of Paladin. Seals are very versatile, and the Paladin can choose how they use seals. A Kyrian Holy Paladin may focus on healing, but a Venti or Holy Paladin may focus on doing the most amount of destructive damage to the boss. And Paladins that adjust their seals mid-combat would get so much min-maxing potential from their class. For rogues, I think there's no spell as iconic as Smoke Bomb. The spell is still there, just only in PvP. But for many rogues, it is still your default choice for many of the PvP encounters. In previous expansions, any allies that stacked inside of a smoke cloud actually gained a damage reduction buff. It gave rogues a utility that raids were looking for. In Shadowlands, all 3 specs of rogues regain poisons, which is huge for both Mythic Plus raiding and in PvP. We also got the ability of Shiv back, which now has a de-enrage mechanic very useful inside of Mythic Plus. Smoke Bomb is the only spell that I can think of that's as strong as some of the other spells we named for the other classes that would also give rogues a little bit extra raid utility in the process. As a class, the Priest has had many abilities for us to draw from history. There's no ability as iconic for Priest as Void Shift, which still lives through Priest through the spec of Shadow as a PvP talent. Void Shift would allow you to switch health pools with an ally, in a way letting the Priest sacrifice themselves to save another. Personally, I couldn't pick between Void Shift and Spectral Guise, another fun priest ability that let him fade into darkness and gain stealth, leaving an afterimage behind. The afterimage could potentially become the target of boss and raid mechanics, and many priests found it fun to use in PvP against other players to mess with their heads. It might sound like I'm picking favorites, but with priests, both Void Shift and Spectral Guise are 2 iconic abilities that will be extremely powerful in the expansion of Shadowlands. For the class of Shaman, nothing would make me happier than to gain the Gust of Wind back. Gust of Wind was a little movement ability back in Legion that didn't really make it into the next expansion. To be fair, there's a pretty big list of abilities that Shaman has lost over its lifetime, primarily the variety of different totems that would be extremely good in the current environment of Shadowlands. But nothing else really feels like you're playing a class that's attuned to the elements, to such an extent where literally the Gust of Wind will give you a lift. With Gust of Wind giving you extra mobility, you could now reach places that you couldn't before. And I personally enjoyed exploring many different nooks and crannies on my Shaman. It was a very unique movement ability for its time, and I enjoyed it tremendously when playing my Shaman back in Legion. For Warlocks, there's nothing more that I would want than Grimoire of Supremacy, which gave you more demons for you to summon and control. During the expansion of Legion, Blizzard added a lot more demon models to the game, and I always thought it would be cool for Warlocks to expand the amount of demons they can summon by their side. With a bigger pool of demons to summon means specific jobs can be accomplished by these demon companions. In patch 9.2, it looks like Blizzard is heading in that direction by making demons more specialized. The Imp is there for good single target damage and dispels, the Fell Puppy can interrupt, the Voidwalker can tank, and the Succubus/Incubus will now put a stacking debuff on the target when they do more damage to them. And as long as it can continue building those stacks up until 10, they might have the best single target damage as long as the boss doesn't move much or has an immunity phase. So with Grimoire Supremacy, Blizzard could incorporate more demons for Warlocks to summon, with different jobs and different unique skills for them to bring, which could allow Warlocks to bring extra utility benefits through those demons by having a specific demon designed for different dungeon and raid situations. For the final class of Warrior, I thought that stances could make a return. Very similar to the seals of Paladins, stances are personal buffs that are useful in different situations. For example, the only stance that still exists in the game is Defensive Stance in the Arms Warrior talent tree. Defensive Stance does what the name says. It ups their defensive possibility at a loss of some damage, which is enough to make it more competitive in some cases than a Fury Warrior. In the past, warriors used to have a lot of stances, like Berserking Stance that would make you more susceptible to damage but augmented your damage output, or even Gladiator Stance for warriors, which would lower down their defense but increase their damage output significantly. And through stances, a warrior would be able to adjust and adapt in any environment, giving them more defense when they're under pressure and going for all-out offense when they see an opening. But that's going to be my video on all the mechanics, talents, passives, and abilities that I think Blizzard could bring back in the future World of Warcraft update. It was really awesome diving back through the history books, checking out what our classes have gained and lost throughout expansions. I certainly hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I want you to let me know in the comments below, what do you think about our list? Do you agree with the spells and the abilities we picked, or is your personal list different? I want to hear all your thoughts in the comments below. As per always, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as per usual, in every single video, every single live stream, in the description, we have a link to our community channel Discord. Join the Discord to become part of the community, and on there you can let me know what you think about today's video. DMs are always open. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in another one.